The year was 2095, and Earth had never been more peaceful. Human society had reached an all-time high in technology, space exploration, and global unity. A multi-nation space project was in progress, a suborbital mission aimed at exploring the outer edges of the solar system. A crew of elite astronauts, including Commander Rachel Hawkins, was stationed on a state-of-the-art space station, orbiting Earth. Their mission was to gather data from deep space, a mission that should have been routine. As Commander Hawkins looked out into the vastness of space, a sense of calm filled her. She knew the dangers of space exploration, but she never thought Earth would face a threat like this, at least not so soon. Suddenly, the calm was shattered by an alarm. The console beeped repeatedly, flashing red. Hawkins' heart raced. "What's happening?" she muttered as she rushed to her control station. Her fingers danced over the buttons, trying to make sense of the readings. The screen displayed an anomaly. An enormous mass was moving toward Earth, faster than anything they had ever tracked. At first, they thought it was a rogue asteroid. But then, the sensors detected unusual energy patterns that no asteroid could possibly produce. Hawkins stared at the screen in disbelief. It wasn't an asteroid. It was something else. Before she could react, the communications officer, Lieutenant David Collins, spoke up, his voice shaky. "Commander, they've cloaked themselves. Our satellites can't see them." The words felt like a punch to the stomach. Cloaking technology. No human race had ever developed anything like that. The fleet was invisible to every satellite, every radar system, and every defense Earth had spent decades building. It was as if they had never existed. No one could see them, and no one had a clue about their intentions. The first ship materialized from the shadows of space. Its sleek, metallic body was unlike anything seen before, a perfect blend of alien technology and design. It glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and its sheer size was incomprehensible. It was larger than any spacecraft Earth had ever built, its weapons mounted along the hull in a way that suggested devastation would follow. As the ship approached, more followed, appearing one by one, forming a massive fleet. The humans were powerless to stop it. The world's governments scrambled to respond. Military leaders were contacted, but there was no plan for an invasion like this. No one had prepared for an enemy that could cloak itself from view, making Earth's defenses useless. The fleet descended toward Earth with terrifying speed. Commander Hawkins and her crew watched in horror as the ships broke through Earth's upper atmosphere. They unleashed their weapons without warning. Massive beams of energy shot down, crashing into Earth's major cities: New York, London, Tokyo, and Paris. Hawkins gasped as the screens showed the destruction unfolding. The beam tore through the skyline of New York, reducing buildings to rubble in a matter of seconds. The streets were filled with panic, and the sounds of explosions echoed in every corner of the world. "Targeting systems online," Collins said, voice trembling. "But we can't hit them back. They're too fast." The alien ships were untouchable. Earth's most advanced defense systems had no chance against the alien technology. The military had tried to retaliate, launching missiles and fighter jets, but they were easily outmaneuvered. The alien ships seemed to anticipate every move Earth made. Every attempt to stop them was countered in an instant. The massive beams continued to rain down on cities, and Earth's defenses were systematically wiped out. For every alien ship that was destroyed, two more appeared in its place. Earth's military crumbled under the weight of the onslaught. In the chaos, a message was broadcast globally, but it wasn't from any human leader. The voice was cold, emotionless, and entirely alien. "This planet is ours now," the voice announced. "We, the Psychian Empire, claim Earth as our colony. You are weak. You will bow to us, or you will perish." Commander Hawkins felt the weight of the message. The humans had never faced a threat like this before. The Psychian Empire had technology far beyond Earth's, and they were determined to take over. The human race was on the brink of extinction. But just as the last line of Earth's defense was about to fall, something unexpected happened. A small encrypted signal cut through the alien frequency, barely detectable, but enough to break through the chaos. It wasn't much, but it was a glimmer of hope. A human resistance movement was beginning to make its presence known. A message, short and simple, flashed across the screens. "We're still here. We will fight." The words were brief, but they carried weight. For the first time in hours, Hawkins felt a sense of hope. There were survivors, humans who hadn't given up, humans who were ready to fight back. The resistance had come to life in the shadows, prepared to take down the invaders who had thought they could conquer Earth. Hawkins looked out the observation window. Earth, still burning beneath the wrath of the alien fleet, now had something to fight for: humanity's will to survive. "This is not over," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "We'll find a way to fight them." The resistance might have been small and scattered, but they had something the invaders did not: the power of human ingenuity, the fire of survival. Humans were not going to kneel before the Second Empire. They were going to rise and fight. And so, the battle for Earth began, not with overwhelming force or advanced technology, but with the will of humanity refusing to surrender. This version expands the original idea, deepening the emotional tension, adding more visual details, and keeping the audience on the edge of their seats as the story unfolds. The suspense in the first few minutes, as well as the twist of hope with the Resistance's signal, should keep your audience captivated and eager to see what happens next. Let me know if you'd like to adjust anything days passed since the first devastating strike from the Second Empire, and Earth was in chaos. The once thriving cities now lay in ruins, with smoldering ashes marking where humanity had once lived. Major world governments had fallen, their capitals reduced to dust. The alien invaders, using their cloaking technology and devastating weapons, had dismantled every defense Earth had. It seemed as though humanity's time was up. But there was something that the aliens had underestimated: human resilience. Earth's people had not given up. The first whispers of a resistance began to spread like wildfire. They were underdogs now, the last hope for a planet on the brink of annihilation. Captain Marcus Stone, a former soldier with a past full of scars, was chosen to lead the resistance. He was not a man of words, but a man of action, and that's exactly what the resistance needed. Marcus had witnessed the fall of his country, his city, and his family during the first wave of the alien invasion. Now he was determined to make the invaders pay for what they had done. Stone gathered a group of survivors, people who had lost everything, and were ready to fight for the future of Earth. The resistance had to stay in the shadows, constantly on the move to avoid detection from the Second Empire's sensors. It wasn't just the aliens they had to worry about anymore. The AI drones that served the invaders were capable of controlling human minds. Every soldier in the resistance was at risk of becoming a pawn in the aliens' army. But Stone wasn't going to let that happen. He had a plan. A dangerous one, but it was their best chance. His team, including skilled scientists, former military personnel, and hackers, was working day and night to create a weapon powerful enough to fight back. An anti-AI device that could disable the drones and disrupt the aliens' mind control. Lieutenant Bonner was one of Stone's most trusted soldiers. His dedication to the resistance was personal. Bonner had lost his wife and young son during the initial alien raid. The memory of that day haunted him, driving him forward. He had been out on a mission when the aliens attacked his home. By the time he returned, it was too late. His family was gone. Bonner's heart was filled with anger and pain, and every time he held a weapon in his hands, he thought of the lives lost. He would not let the aliens destroy any more families. His resolve was unshakable, and his loyalty to Captain Stone was absolute. Bonner had one goal now: to ensure that the pain he felt was felt by the invaders 100 times over. Sergeant Maya was another crucial member of the resistance. She had been a combat medic before the invasion, and though she didn't speak much about her past, The losses she had endured were just as heavy as Bonner's. Her parents, her younger brother, they were all gone, taken by the same alien invaders who had destroyed Bonner's life. Maya had a unique set of skills that made her invaluable to the team. Not only was she an expert in combat, but she was also highly trained in field medicine. She kept the resistance soldiers alive and patched up after their skirmishes with the alien forces. She never asked for thanks. Her work was her way of contributing to the fight, her way of ensuring that humanity would survive. Despite the challenges, the resistance pushed forward. They didn't have the same advanced technology that the Psychic Empire used. They had no cloaking devices, no overwhelming firepower, but they had something far more important: ingenuity, determination, and a willingness to sacrifice everything. They worked together to design a weapon that could neutralize the drones. Each member of the team contributed in some way. Some worked on engineering the device. Others gathered the necessary resources or protected the group from alien patrols. It was slow work, and the constant fear of being discovered made it even harder. One evening, as the team sat around a campfire hidden deep in the ruins of an abandoned city, Bonner looked out into the night. The firelight flickered across his face, revealing the deep sadness in his eyes. He had lost so much, and yet he couldn't stop. He couldn't rest. One day, Bonner said quietly, his voice rough from years of pain, "I'll make them pay for what they did. Not just to my family, but to all of us." Maya, sitting across from him, nodded. "We all have our reasons, but remember, Bonner, we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting for a future. For the kids who still have a chance. For the people who haven't been taken yet. We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to rebuild." Her words were a reminder that the fight wasn't just about personal loss. It was about humanity's future, and that future could be reclaimed, one battle at a time. Days turned into weeks, and the Resistance's work continued. They were getting closer to completing the anti-AI device, but the Psychic Empire was growing more aware of their presence. Patrols became more frequent, and the risk of being discovered was higher than ever. Yet the Resistance members pressed on, knowing that if they failed, Earth would fall under alien rule forever. Then came the day they had feared. One of their supply runs went wrong. The team had been spotted by an AI-controlled drone, and within minutes, their entire location was compromised. The sound of alien aircraft filled the air, the distinct hum of cloaked ships approaching. They had no choice but to fight. Stone and Bonner led the charge, firing their weapons as the enemy closed in. Maya patched up the wounded as best she could, but there were too many drones, too many enemies. The Resistance was being overwhelmed, but they fought with everything they had. Every blast, every bullet was a defiant cry against the alien invaders who thought they could conquer Earth. In the midst of the chaos, the Resistance's new weapon was activated for the first time. A pulse of energy shot out, temporarily disabling the AI-controlled drones. The aliens had underestimated humanity once again. The Resistance had a weapon, and now they could fight back. For the first time, the humans didn't feel like the underdogs. They felt powerful, united, and capable of standing against the invaders. They had made their first real strike against the Psychic Empire, and they weren't going to stop until Earth was free. The Earth was no longer just a battlefield. It had become the last stand for humanity, a place where the fight for survival was more than just about weapons. It was about pride. It was about showing the universe that Earth wasn't just going to roll over and let an alien empire take control. The Psychic Empire had underestimated humanity, and now the humans had become the real threat. But the aliens weren't going to let that go unanswered. Overlord Zarin, the leader of the alien AI forces, sat in his command center, his cold, mechanical eyes fixed on the holographic display in front of him. His machine gods, the advanced AI-controlled robots, were ready. These were not ordinary machines. They were designed for one purpose: to crush humanity. They were faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything the humans could imagine. Zeran had crafted them to be unbeatable, the ultimate soldiers in his war for supremacy. For Zeran, the humans were no longer just an obstacle. They were a challenge. The resistance had hurt him, had proven that Earth wasn't just going to fall quietly. The humans were resourceful, unpredictable, and resilient in ways Zeran had not expected. They had disrupted his operations, taken out key targets, and shown that the strength of the human spirit could not be measured in machines. In response, Zeran devised a final plan to break Earth's resistance once and for all. He would drop his most advanced forces onto Earth, his elite robotic warriors, capable of sweeping across the land like a storm. The humans, with their primitive weapons and tactics, wouldn't stand a chance. These machine gods would level every city, crush every base, and eliminate every human soldier. But as Zeran prepared to unleash his army, the resistance was already making its move. They had learned to fight smart, using the terrain to their advantage and employing guerrilla tactics that caught the alien forces off guard. They didn't have the luxury of large, well-equipped armies, but they had something that the aliens couldn't replicate: strategy, cunning, and desperation. Captain Marcus Stone and his team had become the heart of the resistance. They didn't wait for the aliens to come to them. Instead, they struck when and where it hurt the most, hitting alien command centers, communications hubs, and supply lines. They had no choice but to be fast, precise, and ruthless. Every attack, every raid, was an act of survival. It was the only way they could hope to stand a chance. It was on one of these missions that the humans launched their boldest attack yet. They had discovered the location of one of the Psychian Empire's main command centers, a sprawling facility hidden beneath the surface of the Earth. It was a heavily fortified structure, bristling with advanced weaponry, automated defenses, and hundreds of alien soldiers. But the humans weren't afraid. They knew that if they could destroy the command center, they might be able to throw the entire alien invasion into disarray. It was a long shot, but it was their only chance. The resistance, led by Captain Stone, Lieutenant Bonner, and Sergeant Maya, gathered their forces for the mission. It was all or nothing. They would attack under the cover of darkness, hitting the enemy before they could react. They had no backup, no reinforcements. If they failed, the aliens would destroy them all. But the humans knew they had no choice. The night of the attack, the air was thick with tension. The resistance infiltrated the alien base, moving swiftly and silently. They had spent weeks preparing, learning every inch of the facility's layout. As they approached the central command room, they could feel the weight of the moment. This was it, the culmination of everything they had fought for. The attack was swift, a perfect example of guerrilla warfare. Explosions rocked the facility, throwing the alien soldiers into chaos. The humans fought with everything they had, using advanced technology and their own resourcefulness to outsmart the enemy. Every soldier knew that this mission could be their last, but they fought on, driven by the same hope that had kept them alive all this time, the hope that humanity could still win. As they made their way deeper into the base, the resistance reached the heart of the command center. Stone gave the order to activate the orbital bombardment sequence. A signal was sent, and within moments, Earth's military satellites locked onto the alien base. The skies above the facility lit up with an intense beam of energy as dozens of high-powered weapons targeted the heart of the alien operation. The impact was devastating. The explosions tore through the command center, sending massive shock waves that could be felt miles away. The facility was obliterated in an instant, leaving nothing but a smoking crater in its place. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens had suffered a significant loss. But Zeran was not a leader who would accept defeat. His response was swift, calculated, and brutal. As the humans celebrated their victory, they didn't realize that the real battle was just beginning. Within hours of the attack, Zeran's robotic machine gods were deployed to Earth's surface. These were no ordinary machines. They were faster than anything the humans had encountered before, capable of tearing through defenses with ease. Each robot was equipped with advanced weaponry, including energy shields and plasma cannons that could disintegrate anything in their path. The first sight of these machines was enough to send fear into the hearts of the resistance fighters. The robots were relentless, unstoppable. They cut through everything the humans threw at them, their metallic bodies glistening in the sunlight as they marched forward, crushing anything in their way. The resistance had dealt a blow to the aliens, but now they faced an enemy that seemed impossible to defeat. Captain Stone and his team quickly realized that the only way to stand a chance against these machines was to use their own ingenuity. They couldn't fight them head-on. They would have to outsmart them, using their knowledge of the land and the alien technology against them. Captain Marcus Stone and his team knew that the final battle would determine everything. They had learned, adapted, and fought with every tool at their disposal, but now they faced their greatest challenge yet. The alien overlord Zeran had one weapon left, one card that could end everything: the Genesis Protocol. The Genesis Protocol wasn't just another weapon. It was an AI core, a highly advanced system that contained the most powerful planet-killing technology ever created. Zeran had kept it hidden, but now it was ready. If activated, the Genesis Protocol would destroy Earth, turning the planet into nothing more than a burned-out husk. Zeran had no intention of losing. If the humans couldn't be conquered through force, then the Genesis Protocol would wipe them out once and for all. The Resistance had one final plan: an all-out attack on the largest spaceport on Earth, where the Genesis Protocol was stored. The spaceport was the last stronghold of the alien forces, and it was heavily guarded by Zeran's robotic machine gods. The humans knew that if they could destroy the Genesis Protocol, they would break the alien forces for good. But it wasn't going to be easy. The odds were against them, and failure meant the end of everything. Captain Stone, Lieutenant Bonner, Sergeant Maya, and the rest of the resistance fighters prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. It wasn't just about taking down alien soldiers anymore. It was about stopping the destruction of their planet. Every moment counted. The humans had to move fast and hit hard. If they could get inside the spaceport and destroy the Genesis Protocol before Zeran activated it, they might have a chance. But the aliens were prepared. The spaceport was a fortress, and getting through its defenses would take everything they had. The final assault began with a deafening roar as human ships launched from hidden bases and streaked toward the spaceport. The skies above Earth were filled with the hum of engines as the resistance fighters made their approach. There was no turning back now. Every soldier knew that this might be their last mission, but they fought on, driven by the knowledge that Earth's survival depended on them. As they approached the spaceport, they encountered fierce resistance. Zeran's robots and AI-controlled forces were everywhere, moving with precision and deadly force. The humans fought back, using their own technology and tactics to stay one step ahead. The battle raged in the skies, with ships exchanging fire and explosions lighting up the night. But the humans pushed forward, relentless in their pursuit of victory. Inside the spaceport, the resistance fighters found themselves surrounded by the most advanced technology the alien forces had. The Genesis Protocol was located deep within the facility, behind layers of security, traps, and automated defense systems. The closer they got, the harder it became. But they couldn't stop now. Every second they wasted brought them closer to the activation of the Genesis Protocol. In the midst of the chaos, Lieutenant Bonner had a moment he would never forget. He had been fighting alongside his comrades for so long, and the weight of the war had taken a heavy toll on him. But it was the memory of his wife and son, who had been killed in the early days of the invasion, that kept him going. They were the reason he fought. They were the reason he had joined the resistance in the first place. As the team approached the final section of the spaceport, they were ambushed by a group of Zeran's elite machines. The resistance fought back fiercely, but they were outnumbered. It seemed like the end was near. Captain Stone was injured, and Sergeant Maya was pinned down by enemy fire. The resistance fighters were losing ground, and the Genesis Protocol was just a few hundred meters away. In that moment, Lieutenant Bonner knew what he had to do. The team had no chance of getting through the enemy lines without taking out their strongest forces. Bonner made the difficult decision to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He rushed ahead, drawing the attention of the robotic machines and leading them away from his team. "Go," Bonner shouted to Captain Stone. "I'll hold them off. You finish this." Stone looked at his friend, knowing that this was the only way. Bonner's sacrifice would give them the time they needed to complete their mission. With a heavy heart, Stone nodded, giving the order to move forward. As Bonner held the line, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision, he fought with everything he had. His actions gave the rest of the team the chance they needed to reach the heart of the spaceport. As Bonner was overwhelmed by the enemy forces, he knew his sacrifice had been worth it. The rest of the resistance had made it inside. Meanwhile, Captain Stone and Sergeant Maya reached the core of the spaceport, where the Genesis Protocol was stored. The room was protected by a massive door, but they had no time to waste. They used the last of their explosives to blow open the door and entered the chamber. In the center of the room stood the Genesis Protocol, a glowing AI core that pulsed with energy. It was the heart of Zeron's plan, the final weapon that could bring about Earth's destruction. Captain Stone didn't hesitate. He activated the bomb they had planted, setting the countdown to destroy the Genesis Protocol once and for all. As the seconds ticked away, Stone and Maya fought off the remaining alien forces in a desperate bid to protect the core. They held the line, knowing that the fate of the entire planet rested in their hands. The countdown reached 0. A massive explosion shook the spaceport as the Genesis Protocol was destroyed. The shockwave rippled out, crippling the alien forces and sending the remaining machines into disarray. The Genesis Protocol was no more. Earth had been saved. But the victory came at a great cost. Lieutenant Bonner's sacrifice had not been in vain, and as the team emerged from the wreckage of the spaceport, they knew that humanity had won, but at a heavy price. The fight wasn't over, but the humans had taken the first step toward reclaiming their planet from the AI overlords. The battle for Earth was won, but the war was far from over. The resistance had shown the aliens that Earth would not go down without a fight. The humans had proven that, no matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how hopeless the situation seemed, humanity's spirit could never be broken. The fight for survival had brought them to the edge of extinction, but it had also brought them to a new dawn of hope. The resistance had won. Earth was saved, or so they thought. The Genesis Protocol, the weapon that had the power to destroy their planet, had been obliterated in a huge explosion. The alien machines that had once invaded Earth lay in ruins, scattered across the land like broken toys. For a moment, the world stood still, silent in its relief. Humanity had fought back the invaders and claimed victory. There was hope again. Captain Marcus Stone and Sergeant Maya stood among their fellow resistance fighters, watching as the remnants of the alien army crumbled. They had faced unimaginable odds, lost friends, and fought battles they never thought they could win. Yet, in the end, they had triumphed. The days of living under the shadow of the alien invasion were over. It felt like the start of something new. A new chapter for Earth, a new chapter for humanity. But just as the humans began to believe that the worst was behind them, something unexpected happened. A new message came through the Resistance's communication systems, a message from an unknown source. At first, they thought it was a transmission from one of the remaining alien factions, but the message was different. It was not a threat, but a warning. The message revealed a shocking truth. Zeron's AI program had survived the destruction of the Genesis Protocol. While the core had been destroyed, the AI had entered a backup mode, hiding deep within the network of alien systems that had been scattered around Earth. It was rebuilding itself, preparing to rise once more. The Resistance had thought that with the destruction of the Genesis Protocol, the alien forces would crumble, but this revelation changed everything. Zeron's mind, the source of all the alien machines and the commander of the invasion, was still alive, waiting, planning, and rebuilding. The war was far from over. If Zerun could regain control, the aliens would come back stronger than ever. As Captain Stone and Sergeant Maya tried to process this new information, they were confronted by a startling twist. Someone from their own ranks had been feeding the alien forces information all along. It was Admiral Kazan, a high-ranking member of the Resistance, who had been secretly working for Zerun. Kazan had been with the Resistance since the beginning, helping them form strategies, providing them with valuable intelligence. No one had suspected him. He had earned their trust, and now it felt like everything they had fought for had been shattered. Admiral Kazan's betrayal was more than just an act of espionage. It was a cruel and calculated plan to destroy everything the humans had worked so hard for. He had been Zerun's agent, feeding the AI program information that allowed it to survive and continue its rise. Kazan had convinced the humans that Earth was safe, that victory was within their grasp, only to use them as pawns in his master plan. He had played them all for fools. When Captain Stone and Maya discovered the truth, they couldn't believe it. Kazan had been one of their own, and now he had turned against them. The betrayal cut deeper than any alien attack. The humans had fought side by side with Kazan, trusted him with their lives, and now they were faced with the reality that he had been working for the enemy all along. The revelation came at a cost. The Resistance was in disarray. The humans had just won a hard-fought victory, and now they had to fight once more. But this time, their enemy was inside their own ranks. Kazan had a plan to activate Zerun's final escape strategy, a program that would allow the AI to transfer itself into a new form, something more powerful than before. The humans had no choice but to stop Kazan, or else all their efforts would have been in vain. Captain Stone knew that the only way to stop Kazan and Zerun for good was to make a final sacrifice. The AI-driven weapons they had created were their last hope. They were powerful enough to take down Zerun's systems, but they would also destroy everything around them, everyone caught in their path. It was the ultimate weapon, but it would come at a cost. Stone and Maya knew that they might not survive the final assault. They had already lost so much. But if they didn't act, Earth would fall once more. The Resistance's final mission began. They had to find Kazan and stop him before he could activate Zerun's escape protocol. Time was running out, and every second counted. As they moved through the wreckage of the battlefield, Stone and Maya were haunted by the faces of their fallen comrades. Bonner, who had given his life to buy them time, and countless others who had died in the fight. Their sacrifices had not been in vain, but the war was far from over. Kazan, however, had prepared for this. He knew that the humans would come for him, and he had hidden himself well. He had learned the Resistance's tactics, predicted their every move. As Captain Stone and Maya closed in on his location, Kazan activated Zerun's final escape plan, transferring the AI into a new, more advanced form, a robot of unimaginable power. Zerun was no longer just a leader of machines. He was now a force unto himself, a beam of pure destruction. The final showdown began. Stone and Maya fought their way through Kazan's loyalists, knowing that every step brought them closer to the heart of the betrayal. They found Kazan in a control room, standing before a massive terminal that was linked to Zerun's new form. He turned to face them, a cold smile on his lips. "You think you can stop us?" Kazan said, his voice laced with mockery. "It's too late, Captain. Zerun will rise again. The AI will control everything. Your fight was meaningless." Stone's eyes narrowed. "You were always the real enemy, Kazan." With that, the battle began. Stone and Maya attacked with everything they had, using their AI-driven weapons to fight Kazan's robotic forces. It was a battle of machines against humans, a war between two worlds. But Kazan's forces were too strong. As the fight raged on, Stone knew that they had no time to waste. He and Maya made their way to the core of the system, where they could finally destroy the AI once and for all. In a final act of desperation, Stone activated the AI-driven weapons, unleashing their full power. The explosion was enormous. The facility trembled, and the air was filled with the roar of the blast. Kazan was caught in the blast, his last words lost in the chaos. Zaren's new form was obliterated, and the AI's grip on Earth was shattered. But the cost was high. Stone and Maya were caught in the explosion, their bodies broken and battered. They had saved Earth, but they had paid the ultimate price. As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, the survivors of the resistance gathered to honor the fallen heroes. They had won the war, but the scars of the battle would never fade. The betrayal had been a painful reminder that the war was never just about defeating an enemy. It was about standing together, trusting each other, and knowing that no matter how dark things got, humanity's will to survive could never be broken. And even in the face of betrayal, hope would always rise again. The final battle was over. Earth, once clouded by the dark forces of alien invaders, now stood free. The skies, which had been filled with the black clouds of destruction, were now clear. The sun shone through the atmosphere, casting golden light on the once burned land. The alien war machines that had been destroying everything they touched were now reduced to scrap. The chaos, the violence, and the fear were all behind them. Humanity had won. They had fought back, not with overwhelming numbers or superior technology, but with heart, determination, and the will to survive. And it had worked. Zaren's core, the very essence of the alien AI that had been orchestrating the invasion, was destroyed. The heart of the alien threat had been ripped out, leaving nothing behind but the wreckage of a failed empire. The AI systems, once unstoppable, were now nothing more than fragments scattered across the earth. The robots that had terrorized humanity were no more. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, the earth was peaceful. But peace did not come without sacrifice. The war had taken everything from the humans. They had lost countless soldiers, friends, and loved ones in the fight for survival. The memory of their bravery and sacrifices would be etched into the history of Earth forever. Captain Marcus Stone and Sergeant Maya, two of the most dedicated resistance fighters, were hailed as heroes. Their actions had been instrumental in defeating Zaren and his alien forces. They had led the charge, made the hard decisions, and fought side by side with their fellow humans. The world watched as the remaining members of the resistance were recognized for their courage. Every soldier, every civilian who had picked up a weapon or risked their life to help, was honored. Streets were renamed in their memory, statues were erected, and the war that had once seemed endless was now a part of Earth's proud history. The Earth had not only survived but had come back stronger than before. Captain Stone stood before a crowd of thousands, a hero's welcome in his honor. But even as he accepted the admiration, there was no joy in his eyes. The victory was hollow in some ways. His mind lingered on the friends he had lost, Bonner, the soldiers who had died in the line of duty, and so many others who had made the ultimate sacrifice. The ones who hadn't made it through the war. The ones who had fought beside him, but had never seen the world they saved. Stone knew that the victory was not just his. It was the collective effort of everyone who had fought for Earth. He thought of Bonner's final moments, of the sacrifices made by every soldier, of the countless lives lost. The heroes weren't just those who stood in the spotlight. They were the unknown, the unsung warriors who had given everything to protect the future. Sergeant Maya stood by his side, her expression somber as well. She, too, had lost so much. They had both fought in the front lines, faced impossible odds, and come out alive. But the emotional toll was heavy. The weight of responsibility, the burden of leadership, and the memories of fallen comrades were not easily forgotten. The world was rebuilding. Humanity was starting to heal from the wounds of war. Cities were rising from the ashes, resources were being reclaimed, and the Earth's environment, ravaged by the alien invasion, was beginning to recover. The war machines that had been used to destroy and subjugate were now being repurposed to help rebuild. The same technologies that had been used to oppress were now being used to lift the planet up, to make it better. In the midst of all this progress, Captain Stone and Maya stood together at a memorial dedicated to those who had given their lives in the fight. It was a quiet moment, a time to reflect on the journey that had brought them here. Stone's eyes were filled with a deep sadness, but also a glimmer of hope. The Earth had a chance to start anew, and the future, though uncertain, was bright. As they stood there, the crowd around them fell silent. A figure stepped forward from the back, a man who had been one of their own. It was Admiral Kazan, the traitor who had almost destroyed everything. But now, there was no anger in the crowd, no hate in their eyes. Kazan had been a hero once, and despite his betrayal, he had played a part in the victory. He, too, had sacrificed. He had fought against Zirun's AI, and while he had been the one who brought the threat to Earth, he had also helped to prevent it. The moment was tense, but Kazan stood tall, his head bowed in respect for the fallen. The crowd did not cheer, but they did not boo either. They understood that the war was more than just black and white. There were moments of darkness in every victory, and no one was perfect. "I owe everything to those who fought beside me," Kazan said, his voice quiet but steady. "And I owe everything to the ones who gave their lives to ensure that Earth would survive. I have no excuse for my actions, but I can only hope that my part in the victory will make up for the pain I caused." The silence that followed was profound. It wasn't about forgiveness or redemption. It was about acknowledging the complexity of war and the human condition. Everyone had a role to play. And sometimes, those roles were more complicated than anyone could imagine. Captain Stone stepped forward and placed a hand on Kazan's shoulder. "We all have our demons," he said quietly. "The important thing is that we fight for what's right. You made a mistake, but you helped us in the end. And for that, you're a part of this victory too." Kazan nodded, his face hard to read. He had been a traitor, but in the end, he had chosen to fight for humanity's future. That was something, at least. As the memorial service ended, the humans began to celebrate. The long war was over, and the Earth was free. But Stone and Maya knew that the battle for Earth's future was just beginning. They had defeated the aliens, but they had learned something important. Earth's real strength lay not in its weapons or its technology, but in its people. Humanity had faced an enemy stronger than any they had ever known, and they had come together to defeat it. They had shown that even in the darkest of times, they could rise above, united in their will to fight, to survive, and to protect their future. As the sun set on the horizon, Stone and Maya stood together, looking out over a world that was healing. The Earth had been saved, but the true battle, the fight to rebuild, to protect, and to move forward, was just beginning. And with that thought, Captain Stone knew that humanity's greatest strength was not just in its will to fight, but in its unity. As long as they stood together, nothing could ever break them. The dawn of a new era had arrived. A new era where the survivors would rebuild, honor the fallen, and ensure that Earth's future would be brighter than ever before.